Hello, CSIT 165. Welcome to Module 6, Iteration and Control, for the week of March 2nd, 2020. And this week, let's look at the overview and to-do list. For Module 6, we're going to be going over iteration and control. So say data scientists often need to perform computational tasks over many different data groupings. When they do this, they sometimes will perform different computations on variables if they meet certain prerequisites. Here we show how to iterate through data and use Boolean statements to control flow. In these chapters, we're going to be going through how to use canonical methods for iteration, such as for loops and while loops, and also some of the newer methods that make R stand out in being able to iterate through data using the apply family. We'll be comparing and contrasting these two different methods, and we'll also be working with different ways of cycling through and filtering vectors and lists. For this week, we're going to have a few chapters to read. For programming skills for data science, we should read chapter 8.5, and that is the apply family. The apply family is a set of functions that are used to replace for loops or while loops or other different types of conditional statements. And they're made to work with large lists and to be faster than actually using a for loop. We're also going to be having to read R for Everyone, chapters 9, 10, and 11.1. Chapters 9 will go over control statements. Control statements consist of if and else statements, switch, if else statements, and others. Chapter 10 will be going over for loops. We'll be going over loops, for loops, while loops, how to control different loops, or terminate them or break them if we meet certain conditions. And then we'll also be going over the apply family from this book's perspective. For this week, we will have a lab, which is going to be due on Sunday, March 8th by 11:59 p.m. I would recommend getting started on this lab sooner rather than later, as it may take time. The computations necessary to complete this lab are not necessarily difficult from an advanced programming perspective or even intermediate programming perspective. But if you're unfamiliar with some of these concepts, then the lab may take you a little longer. The lab is engineered to help you learn the content and understand what makes it different, what makes R different than other canonical methods of iterating through data sets. So in this lab, you'll have to download two data sets from GitHub in Module 6, large vector.rdata and large list.rdata. To access this data in your project, create an upstream remote to the repository from your forked version of the repository, fetch, and then merge it with your own. For a more detailed explanation or for links on how to do this, visit the instructions in Module 5 exercises. So inside of this lab, we're going to be going over different ways of iteration. We're going to be timing how we're going to be experimenting with how the ease of use of actually constructing the code for while versus for loops, and how that compares to constructing code for apply in terms of intuitiveness, as well as we'll be measuring some of the benchmark computation times necessary to compute the same task using the two different methods. And I go into detail on how to do that here with this example. And then for part 2, we'll be going over iteration with a control element, meaning we want to add in some sort of if-else statement or Boolean control system that says if a condition meets this, then it's true. If it doesn't, then it's false. And if something's true, then do this thing. And if something is false, then do that other computation. So we'll be going through on how to use for loops and while loops to automatically compute on a list or vector if certain conditions are met. We'll be doing that and comparing it to the R way of doing it, which is using functions such as lapply, as R is a functional language. This lab is worth 40 points. And that concludes the necessary activities for Module 6. If you have any questions or comments about any of the material, then I would be more than happy to help you with that. Thank you.